Have you ever wondered if, everything you thought you knew about happiness was maybe completely wrong? It certainly seems like the paths we're told to follow, well, they aren't really leading to the kind of joy we expect. We're seeing some honestly startling data lately that really makes you stop and think. Like, take Japan, for instance. There's this massive trend happening. People are suddenly quitting their jobs like crazy. We're talking a 60% resignation rate in just a few years. It's huge. And get this, they're actually hiring people called resignation artisans. Taishokugyo Daiku, I think?
Wow.
Yeah, just to help them deal with the guilt of leaving. So why are they doing it? It seems pretty clear they're searching for a kind of happiness that, well, modern society just isn't providing. And it's definitely not just Japan. If you look at the global picture, it gets even more confusing. India, right? A rapidly developing nation, lots of economic growth. They ranked a shocking 126th out of 143 countries in the 2024 World Happiness Report.
126, that's surprisingly low.
Exactly. They're behind places like Pakistan, Nigeria, Iraq, even Palestine and Ukraine. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If development and, money aren't making people happier than what actually is, and if you're still thinking, okay, but surely money or status helps? Well, consider this data from the US, some of the absolute happiest professions. They're not high-income jobs. Not even close. We're talking about forest workers, farmers, construction workers.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're nowhere near the top of the income list, so it's becoming really clear. The secret to genuine happiness is probably something totally different than what we assume.
What really stands out here is how these examples, these real-world situations, they immediately throw this fundamental disconnect into sharp relief. The disconnect between what we think constitutes success, money, status, the corner office, and what actually contributes to genuine well-being.
Right.
And it forces us to ask that crucial question. If it's not money or status driving happiness, then what is it? These situations really underscore the idea that our conventional wisdom, our sort of cultural script about happiness, might be deeply flawed.
That's such a critical distinction, and it really changes how we should even approach trying to find happiness, doesn't it? And that's exactly why our mission today is basically to give you that missing instruction manual for that incredible complex thing inside your head, your brain.
Yeah, the user guide we never got.
Exactly, because, Gautama Buddha supposedly said, whoever learns to use their mind correctly conquers the universe. And neuroscientists, they've actually been cracking the code, the formula for happiness. So we're not just here to understand it theoretically, we're learning how you can literally use this knowledge, this science, to create your own happiness, on demand almost, and maintain that state of well-being, moving maybe from feeling low, even depressed, to feeling consistently good, all through understanding the science.
Okay, so to really get this formula, we need to rewind. Like, way back, about 540 million years ago, there was this event called the Cambrian explosion.
Ah, yes, the evolutionary Big Bang.
Precisely. It was this astonishing period where, in a relatively short geological time span, boom, suddenly almost all the ancestors of modern animals just burst onto the scene.
And before that, before this explosion of life, creatures were essentially, like biological robots.
Robots, how so? They reacted purely on simple reflexes. Move towards light phototaxis, move away from a chemical chemotaxis, that sort of thing. But they didn't feel anything. There was no internal experience, no joy, no fear, just automatic responses. Their bodies were basically just nerve networks, not processing any internal states. But then came the breakthrough, likely tied to that Cambrian event, the development of a centralized nervous system. So the tripartite brain, the spinal cord. This system allowed these early creatures to do something revolutionary, process external information internally.
Okay.
And crucially, to create a chemical internal state, an emotion.
Ah, so that's where feelings started.
Pretty much. Suddenly things like fear, hunger, thirst, the drive to reproduce, they became real internal experiences driven by chemicals. And if you think about the bigger picture, these weren't just random feelings, they were vital. They gave a massive survival advantage. Fear drives you away from danger. Hunger drives you to find food. You get the idea.
And that's when the brain's own, chemical operating system was born, powered by these key neurotransmitters. We're talking glutamate, GABA, acetylcholine, and a group called monoamines that includes the famous ones like dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine.
The brain's chemical messengers.
Exactly. And these chemicals, even now, millions of years later, they shape everything. Our happiness, our sadness, every single experience we have. They literally give the flavor to food, the sweetness to an aroma, the feeling in music, the color in life. They paint our whole reality. Okay, let's break down the basics first. The real fundamental players setting the stage. First up, glutamate. You can think of it as the brain's main currency, really. It's the primary on switch.
The accelerator.
Yeah, the accelerator. Any information transfer, any thought zipping around, any impulse, it relies on glutamate signaling. It's constantly firing, letting your brain process and react. Then on the flip side, you've got GABA. That's gamma-aminobutyric acid. And this is basically the brain's off switch.
The brake.
The brake, exactly. It
Yeah.
blocks information transfer. And this is absolutely vital, right? Because without GABA,
Your neurons would just fire constantly. Total overload.
which we feel as what? Stress, anxiety.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Burnout. That
Yeah.
constant feeling of being overwhelmed. That's why many medications for chronic stress or anxiety, like benzodiazepines, work by boosting GABA activity. They help apply the brakes.
Right, makes sense. And alcohol does something similar too, doesn't it?
It does. Alcohol increases GABA activity and also reduces glutamate. That's why it makes you feel slower, less inhibited, and in large amounts can cause blackouts. It's acting a bit like an anesthetic. And what's so fascinating here is this constant dance between glutamate and GABA, this fundamental balance, the accelerator and the brake.
The brain's volume control, kind of.
Precisely. And many drugs that make people feel quote-unquote happy or calm work by messing with this balance, either slowing down glutamate or boosting GABA. Which leads us to a really important question. What natural chemical in our own brain usually handles this balancing act? What gives us that natural sense of calm? And why does a deficiency lead to anxiety?
Okay, that's a crucial question. And it leads us right to a chemical that gets talked about a lot, but is often seriously misunderstood in this context. Dopamine. You've probably heard it called the pleasure chemical, right? That's the popular idea.
It is. Very common misconception.
But honestly, trust me on this, most of what people think they know about dopamine, it's just wrong. First off, dopamine doesn't actually give you pleasure, not directly. Second, pleasure and happiness. Very, very different things. We need to untangle those. And third, dopamine is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. It's not the whole story by a long shot.
That's absolutely spot on. Dopamine's real job isn't delivering the pleasure itself. Its role is creating wanting, motivation, desire.
Ah, the chase.
Exactly. It's the drive to pursue something, a thought, a reward, an action. It gets you going, seeking things out, even if the thing you're chasing won't actually feel that good when you get it.
So it's desire, not the enjoyment.
Precisely. The actual feeling of pleasure, that sensory delight, like, the first bite of a perfectly ripe peach or the peak moment in a piece of music, a deep massage, an orgasm. That feeling is primarily created by specific areas in the brain called hedonic hotspots.
Hedonic hotspots. Oh.
Yeah, and these hotspots use the brain's internal opioid system. They produce natural opioid molecules, things like endorphins and enkephalins. That's the chemistry of liking something, of pure sensory pleasure. Dopamine doesn't create that deep, satisfying feeling.
Okay, and this disconnect explains something we've probably all experienced. Getting stuck on what scientists call the hedonic treadmill.
Ah, yes, the treadmill.
Right. Research shows that if you constantly chase pleasure, your brain's pleasure system, those opioid hotspots in the dopamine system, they kind of decouple. They stop working together properly. So an activity that used to feel amazing, it stops giving you that real deep pleasure. But the dopamine system, it keeps firing. The desire to chase it is still there, maybe even stronger.
So you keep wanting it, even if you don't really like it anymore.
Exactly. Think about that greasy takeaway meal that was incredible the first time you had it. But now, you order it out of habit, maybe hoping for that old feeling, but it's just, it doesn't hit the spot. Or that crush you had. Or maybe one nice comment sent you over the moon and you became desperate for their attention, chasing that feeling, even when you kind of knew it wasn't going anywhere healthy. We get stuck chasing the ghost of past pleasure.
And the more you run on that treadmill, chasing pleasure after pleasure, the more elusive it becomes. The desire just keeps growing, becoming endless. And the result, mental exhaustion, stress, anxiety. You end up sacrificing your actual long-term happiness in the pursuit of these fleeting highs.
It sounds like a trap.
It really can be. And if you look at extreme examples like drugs such as fentanyl or heroin, these are synthetic opioids that directly hammer those hedonic hotspots. They show very clearly that flooding the brain with pleasure chemicals doesn't lead to true happiness. It leads to addiction, devastation, ruined lives. True happiness is never found down that path. And stepping back, there's an interesting correlation often seen here. People who feel particularly lonely or disconnected seem to be more susceptible to getting trapped on this hedonic treadmill.
That's a really significant clue, isn't it, about what might actually lead to real happiness. Okay, so if pleasure is this sort of momentary high, this chase that often leaves us feeling empty or wanting more, then what is true happiness? Philosophers, from Gautama Buddha way back to the ancient Greeks, they had a word for it, eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia,
Yeah.
yes.
It describes this calm, peaceful state of well-being, a deep sense of fulfillment, something that isn't constantly thrown off by external ups and downs. It's more like a steady state of feeling good, content, without that background hum of stress or anxiety that comes from constantly chasing the next thing.
And the key neurotransmitter linked to this state, this eudaimonia, this true happiness, it's serotonin. And interestingly, most of it isn't even made in the brain.
Oh, where is it made?
Over 90% is produced in our gut, but its effects are profound throughout the body and brain.
Right.
Serotonin originally evolved way back to create homeostasis.
Homeostasis.
Yeah.
Like balance.
Exactly. A state of balance, stability, well-being. Even in those ancient Cambrian creatures, serotonin likely helped create a healthy internal state by, say, scanning the environment for resources, making sure things were okay. So if dopamine drives desire or wanting, serotonin evolved for the feeling of well-being, of feeling like things are all right. You have enough. And what's really fascinating is watching how serotonin's role evolved right alongside human society. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, when humans started living in larger groups, tribes of maybe 50 to 100 people, things like aggression, pure selfishness, they became real problems for the group's survival.
Right, you need cooperation to survive in a group.
Absolutely. Nature basically sent a clear signal. Cooperation is essential. So guess what expanded rapidly in the human brain? Serotonin-linked regions. These brain areas evolved to foster calmness, contentment, trust, and the actual ability to cooperate happily with others. It's baked into our ancient wiring.
And that explains so much about us today, doesn't it? Like that famous Harvard study, the one that ran for, 75 years? Oh, maybe 25 years in this reference, but still long term.
Yeah, the Grant study, a landmark piece of research.
It found the single biggest predictor of happiness and longevity wasn't money or fame, it was the quality of our relationships and social integration. Being connected.
Because serotonin, our happiness chemical, is fundamentally wired for that connection.
Yeah. Think about it. How do you feel if you experience groupism, like people are intentionally excluding you or just ignoring you?
Awful. Anxious, sad, stressed.
Right. Your serotonin levels actually start to drop. Your brain perceives that social exclusion as a major threat, a severe stressor. It's so deeply linked that low serotonin is recognized as a primary factor in depression. That's why doctors prescribe SSRIs.
Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors.
Exactly. Drugs designed to help your brain make better use of the serotonin it already has. And what else do they often advise?
Go out and socialize. Connect with people.
Precisely. Boost those serotonin levels naturally. So, okay, what does this competition mean for our internal balance? Serotonin is there, trying to modulate our moods, keep us stable, feeling good. But here's the catch, and it's a really big one we mentioned earlier. If you're constantly running hard on that hedonic treadmill, always prioritizing that next dopamine hit, that next bit of pleasure.
Your brain actually starts to downregulate serotonin activity.
Why? Because they compete.
They compete for the same resources, the same receptors in some cases. It's like they're on a seesaw. High dopamine activity often leads to lower serotonin function.
Wow. So chasing pleasure literally makes it harder to feel content and happy in the long run. It's like a zero-sum game inside your own head.
And this is exactly why so many philosophers and wisdom traditions throughout history have said that happiness is ultimately a choice, a commitment.
A choice? How so?
It's a commitment to let go of that endless chasing, that constant desire for more. It doesn't really depend on your external circumstances, what you have or don't have. It's an internal decision to cultivate contentment, to be happy.
But that's hard in our world, isn't it?
It's incredibly challenging because our modern, purely capitalist world, it's largely dopamine-driven. Everything is optimized to keep us wanting, buying, consuming, chasing. Advertising, social media, the upgrade cycle, it's all designed to keep us on that hedonic treadmill, subtly brainwashing us into thinking we need more, instead of feeling satisfied with what's actually enough.
Okay, but what about the hyper-successful people? You know, the billionaires, the CEOs, the Elon Musks of the world. Are they all just stuck in this dopamine loop, chasing money and fame? I mean, it's true that many successful people probably are trapped in that loop, and that relentless pursuit can sometimes derail their own well-being and maybe even harm others.
That certainly happens.
But here's a really critical distinction, a key piece of the puzzle. The truly hyper-successful individuals, the ones who often seem genuinely content, fulfilled, even while achieving massive things. They aren't actually focused primarily on the money or the fame. Their driving force is something else entirely, something that scientifically boosts serotonin and multiplies happiness, and that thing is purpose and responsibility.
Absolutely. Think about examples like, well, Geo in India, taking the country from 158th place to first globally in mobile data access in just, what, 8 years?
That's a massive impact.
Huge societal contribution. Or look at Bill Gates, richest person for ages, now he's like 12th on the list. Why? Because he's donated trillions, over 8 trillion already, plans for 16 trillion more by 2045. He realized money beyond a certain point just buys empty pleasure.
Like drinking salt water, someone said. Never quenches the thirst.
Exactly, it doesn't bring true satisfaction. And looking at the bigger picture, our brains are still fundamentally wired for the conditions of millions of years ago. Living in tribes, cooperating, we sought food together, shared resources. Nature literally rewarded us with serotonin, with good feelings, for cooperating and contributing to the survival and well-being of the tribe.
So these successful people are tapping into that ancient wiring.
The really fulfilled ones are people like, say, Ratan Tata in India. Their primary goal isn't just accumulating wealth for themselves, it's about giving something valuable back to their great tribe society, the world. They earn their daily happiness, that serotonin boost, through that sense of purpose, that contribution. It's why you rarely see them truly retire. Their work is their fulfillment.
And it really is a scientific fact, isn't it? There seem to be no real shortcuts to boosting serotonin sustainably, other than things like hard work and genuine contribution.
Effort and meaning seem key.
Yeah. Serotonin is fundamentally linked to self-esteem, to feeling like you matter, like you're contributing. And that's why, maybe counterintuitively, a working-class farmer can often be genuinely happier than a, say, bored, listless, rich person. And it's exactly what those credible reports confirm officially. Construction workers, foresters, farmers, they consistently rank among the happiest professions in surveys.
And why are they happy? Because they're living a life that ticks all the evolutionary boxes for serotonin release. They usually have a very clear purpose. A construction worker builds a home, someone's dream. A farmer grows food, feeding people. It's tangible.
Direct contribution.
Direct contribution. They often work hard, physically, which we'll get to. They typically work in teams, fostering social cooperation and belonging, another huge serotonin trigger. And they see the results of their labor in real time. So purpose plus contribution plus belonging. That's a really potent, evolutionarily ancient recipe for happiness.
Which stands in stark contrast to
many modern corporate jobs, unfortunately, where you might have toxic cultures, a lack of real belonging, intense pressure, maybe little sense of direct contribution. It's no wonder we're seeing these mass resignations globally, even in places like Japan, with its strong tradition of company loyalty. People are desperately seeking alternatives, freelance work, simpler lives, some even become monks.
trying to escape that environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this raises an important question for everyone. How can you, right now, in your current situation, reframe your work to focus on genuine contribution? Because purpose isn't necessarily about quitting your job to save the world or building a huge empire. It's often just a mindset.
How do you mean?
Well, someone doing data entry could genuinely frame their work as, I'm capturing accurate information so my team can make better decisions and serve people effectively, plus I'm supporting my family. That's purpose. A manager could see their role not just as hitting targets, but as, I'm helping bring out the best talent in my team, developing their careers, keeping our clients satisfied, and supporting my own family too. Even when you're facing difficulty or pain, you can find purpose. You can tell yourself, okay, this suffering is tough, but it's making me stronger, preparing me for something important, teaching me something. It's about finding the meaning.
Okay, so bringing it back to the practicalities. What does all this mean for money? Is money irrelevant then? No, absolutely not. Money is definitely necessary, but only up to a certain level. You need enough to comfortably meet your genuine needs: food, shelter, safety, basic comfort.
If you don't have enough to meet those basic needs, that will cause suffering. Stress, anxiety, unhappiness. That's undeniable.
Yeah.
But here's the crucial finding. Beyond that baseline level needed for security and meeting needs, having more money barely increases happiness. The curve slattens out dramatically.
So more money doesn't equal more happiness past a point.
Not really. Think about those U.S. service workers we mentioned, maybe earning a decent living wage, often happier than someone chasing millions. Contrast that with workers in, say, India, where due to high population and maybe fewer social safety nets, many struggle below that baseline, and their happiness is significantly impacted. So the wider picture is having way more money than you need won't add much net positive to your happiness, but not having enough definitely creates a significant net negative.
Which then begs the question, how much is enough? And the answer seems to be deeply personal, right? For you, enough is simply the amount of money that allows you to comfortably pursue your purpose, whatever that is. Elon Musk might feel he needs billions to fund his Mars ambitions. That's his purpose, his definition of enough for that goal.
Whereas someone else might find deep purpose and fulfillment supporting their family and contributing to their local community on, say, $25,000 a month. Their needs are met, their purpose is served.
Needs are limited, but desires, as we've learned from dopamine, are potentially endless.
Exactly.
So this isn't about not striving for growth or progress. Absolutely, aim high. But do it with your purpose driving you, not just chasing someone else's definition of success or that fleeting dopamine thrill. Seek the deep, lasting fulfillment of serotonin, not just the temporary buzz.
Okay, now after all this talk about the long game purpose, contribution, connections, entertainment, I want to give you 3 things you can do, like right now, or starting today, that are scientifically proven to boost your serotonin levels. We're talking increases of up to 50% in the short term, almost like taking a mild antidepressant, but naturally.
These are powerful, practical tools.
Definitely. Incorporate these into your routine alongside those bigger long-term choices about purpose, and you'll be on a really powerful path to a genuinely happier life. Okay, first one, exercise. Simple but incredibly effective. There was a study in 2013, for example, with depressed students. Those who started doing moderate cardiovascular exercise daily showed up to a 50% increase in their serotonin levels within just a few weeks.
Wow, 50%.
Yeah, it's significant. Think about our hunter-gatherer ancestors. They were constantly moving. Physical activity signals to our ancient brain that we're engaging with the world, pursuing resources, doing what we're supposed to do. It signals well-being. So regular exercise, maybe aim for something like 45 minutes of the cardio, maybe some weights 5 days a week. It doesn't just make you physically healthier, it directly boosts serotonin, aligns you with your evolutionary blueprint for happiness. Second, daylight. Get outside into the sun.
Sunshine makes you happy, literally.
There's a direct, profound biological link. Daylight entering your eyes activates specific light-sensitive cells. These cells send signals directly to a part of the brain called the Lockraft nucleus, and guess what that produces? Yep. About 10% of the brain's serotonin originates there, and daylight stimulates it. This directly impacts your neuropsychology, your mood. It's not a coincidence that depression rates tend to be higher in places with long, cloudy winters. And it's why doctors often tell people struggling with low mood or depression to make sure they get outside every day.
Simple but makes sense.
And there's another connection. Serotonin is a precursor to melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. So getting enough daylight during the day helps you produce melatonin at night, leading to better sleep, which is absolutely crucial for mood regulation and overall well-being. And the third one, diet, specifically focusing on your gut health.
Ah, back to the gut where most serotonin is made.
Exactly. Over 90% of your body's serotonin is produced by specialized cells in your gut lining enterochromaffin cells. So that old saying, bad stomach, bad mood, there's real science behind it.
Gut feelings are real feelings.
They really are. Cultivating a healthy gut microbiome through a good diet can literally lift your mood, and the effects can last. Serotonin molecules have a relatively long half-life, so a good meal can boost your mood for up to 48 hours.
So what's a good diet in this context?
Well, the problem is, much of our modern diet, highly refined foods, processed seed oils, maybe too much reliance on staples like white rice or processed breads, isn't what our gut microbes evolved with over millions of years as hunter-gatherers. Our ancestral diet was incredibly diverse, full of fiber, whole foods, fermented foods occasionally. That's what our gut thrives on. Hunter-gatherer populations had vastly lower rates of modern diseases like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, even some cancers.
So feeding your gut well is directly feeding your happiness chemicals.
Precisely. Fuel your gut, fuel your mood.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the core insights from this deep dive. First, real happiness isn't the same as fleeting pleasure. It's a deeper, more stable state of well-being, that eudaimonia. Second, it's deeply rooted in our evolutionary past and driven by our brain chemistry, especially the neurotransmitter serotonin, not so much the dopamine chase. And third, true, lasting happiness seems to come primarily from finding purpose, making genuine contributions and fostering deep social connections, not from endlessly chasing desire or accumulating money beyond what you truly need.
Yeah, and if you step back and connect all these dots, it really suggests something profound.
Yeah.
Our ancient biological wiring, the way we evolved over millions of years, actually holds the most important truths about how to achieve well-being in our modern world. By understanding that evolutionary heritage, how our brains and bodies are designed to function best, we can start making conscious, intentional choices that resonate with that design. Choices that lead us towards genuine, sustainable happiness and a more fulfilled, balanced life.
So here's a final thought for you to carry forward, something to maybe mull over. If our brains are fundamentally wired for communal purpose, for contribution, for connection, what small intentional acts of giving or service or connection could you integrate into your daily life? Starting today or tomorrow, how can your unique purpose, whatever it might be, align with the well-being of your tribe, however you choose to define that tribe, to tap into that ancient, powerful wellspring of true serotonin-fueled happiness?